Hey, hello again. As you can see, I have invested into some interesting stream quality stuff. By the way, I don't think I completely forgot about that. I guess if you watch me now, if you're watching me now, the audio is a bit desynchronized compared to the video still. I completely forgot about that issue. Mm. And I don't think I can properly uh, fix it now. I can try. How about now? I guess I need to verify that with my trusty stream lookup tool called micro. Sorry, a telephone. Mm, just give me a second. It's everything's a work in progress constantly. I have so much respect for people that have everything configured and they do have complex setup when they do want to showcase a lot of things, but they do have that configured to the point where it's just plug and play. Yep, studio. I mean, it's stupidly hard to just find your own URL to your own live stream. No, here it is. One, two, 1, 2, 3. Test, test. Okay, I guess we are fine now. Mm, at, at least I think it's better. I mean, pretty much after the stream ends, I'll probably look everything up and be like, shit, it's even worse than it was. I've basically added a 15 millisecond delay for the camera rendering. If that's bothering you, do tell me. I can just modify the parameter and we'll see how that goes. As for now, what's the plan for today? Well, last time we pretty much ended on a working installation. You could say that we were pretty much done. So this is where we ended up last time. I mean, not really. It's a boot up screen of my PC. As always with this is installed on my proper PC, and everything is capture card captured, so it's not a VM or nothing like that. Hi Monatech, Montech. I liked Archlinux so much when I used to use it. It's fine. I've pretty much just got stuck with Arch personally when Sway and Wayland were new things. I went back to Windows because of the Microsoft apps. Yeah, I also do run Windows on my desktop PC, so what you are seeing is basically dual boot. I think there are situations, especially with laptops and home PCs, where you basically have to use something like Arch, or basically something that has a fairly recent release model. KDE Plasma. Oh, that hasn't happened before. Oh my, that's a new one. You should be seeing a KDA desktop. Uh, oh, okay. I basically had to fiddle around in the OBS. Just so you know, I am seeing everything like you are. It's like, because I'm capturing everything, it's basically piped through my Mac laptop back to the monitor. So I am basically watching the stream preview. So what I wanted to do for today, well, let me show you where we are. If we go to /boot, you can see that we have some images installed, right? And like initramfs, VM Linux, stuff like that. But in our EFI, there's nothing. That's for one. There's really nothing. And in our grub, we have all of the EFI stuff. So what I really wanted to do was to generate the unified kernel image, because this is not unified kernel image. Basically, grub is booting whatever. Does it really matter? It works. But if you want to have a unified kernel image, if you want to implement the secure boot, then sure, it might be fun. What will be, because typically I'm really used to generating the unified kernel image with Dracut, but for this time I am purposefully not doing it. I would really like to check out either the systemd UKIFI, MK init CPIO is already here, so it would have to be reconfigured, but I guess we can give the Leonard Pottering way a try first. So first, Pacman SYUU. Oh shit, there's a lot of stuff to upgrade, so let's upgrade everything first. I mean, Windows has its place. Windows has many strengths that Linux just doesn't have. It also has solved many problems that, like a decade or two ago, that Linux is just trying to tackle now. Which I do sometimes find hilarious. So, seriously, I haven't installed HTOP? Interesting. By the way, is everything working? NVIDIA SMI. Ah, shit. Oh yeah, because it's yeah, in the middle of upgrade, so we will only know after the reboot, after it's done building the kernel and kernel modules. Though it will probably still yell at me. Yeah, it wants everything to be rebooted. This is why I am basically not streaming from within the Linux that I've installed. Because we do need to reboot everything quite often. Okay, so this is a bit weird because it seems like I need to constantly disable and enable my my Elgato capture. I think it's most likely either OBS's or Mac OS fault that it works like that. By the way, this is a very interesting thing that I wanted to check. It sucks that this is so small. Maybe now advanced options. No, why? Shit. Basically, I wanted to see I wanted to see whether... sorry, I'm still not used to my new setup. Oh, perfect. I wanted to see whether I can choose between kernels, but it seems like what's happening, and I will verify that in a second. This is a bit annoying, but sadly, since I have a fix for this, we can live like that. Oh yeah, there has been a new Plasma release. Blah blah blah. Are you tweaking laptop or desktop? This is a desktop. This is a desktop with, and I can show it to you really quickly, but by the way, sudo pacman. This is my main personal desktop with 5070 Ti, and this is a shame, but I don't remember what my processor is. Cat procs CPU info and AMD Ryzen 9 7900X 12 core. So this is my basically a game station or editing station or whatever. And it's dual booted with Windows. Okay, so NVIDIA SMI, is everything working properly? It is. We can see that Plasma is using GPU for desktop rendering also. And we have 300 megs used, 70 watts used by the GPU. It seems not bad. Okay, sudo su. By the way, don't worry. I am using temporary, very simplistic password for the stream for this OS. So if you mistakenly see me type some very easy password, don't worry. This is specifically for the stream. In before everybody will say I'm coping, but so I think the issue we are having right now is that whenever there is a kernel upgrade, we are not the way it works is that we do not have multiple kernels to choose from when a new kernel is installed. By the way, I see. Oh yeah, I do have some delay. I switched to Cache OS since this month on my main laptop, but think going to Arch as I don't like some of the customizing they have. Might need to rewatch what you're doing. Are you going to use something like that? Basically, I would say that try to use mainstream distros, because all of the other distros are just copy of the mainstream distros, and I could list, I would say, 10,000 reasons why not to use them and maybe one reason why to use them. So I would say, like, stick to the standards like Arch, Ubuntu, Debian, I don't know, Rocky, Fedora. Because those meme distros keep popping up like mushrooms after the rain, and TKG is a kernel supposedly as good as the catchy kernel from what I read. 99% of the time, you do not need to modify the kernel. The kernel has more stuff than you need. It's like people are modifying the process manager queue types, and then they are just running some games or maybe DaVinci or whatever. It's like kernel won't magically improve performance. It has customization related to most CPUs. What does that even mean? Like, I mean, we can see what they are writing on their website. It will probably... Blazingly fast OS based on Archlinux. I suppose something like real-time clock is good for games. Like, what real-time clock? By the way, Linux is not a real-time operating system. Windows is, but Linux is not. Cutting-edge Linux performance with catchy OS. Kernel utilizing advanced board scheduler. Cache OS does compile packages with the v4 Zen 4 instruction set. There's core packages also get, so they are basically rebuilding all of the packages. So they are based on Arch, but they are rebuilding everything. At this point, they should be their own distro, not based on anything. Better interactivity and offers variety scheduler options, including show the benchmarks, show some metrics that can actually support those claims. KD, Plasma. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this means nothing. And don't get me wrong, I am not trying to basically put you down. The thing I've noticed with Linux and with YouTube and whatever community is that people very often mistaken, like they do think that like distros are like some completely abstract beings that differ from one another in so many ways that they cannot comprehend, which basically is just false. Benchmark wise, YouTube vids showed it's better in some games. Frame time wise, for sure. I would say that if developer, no developer is coding a game and trying to optimize it on a level of CPU scheduler. It's if somebody is writing a game engine like that, they properly are in a very big team like Unity or Unreal Engine. Offers a variety of desktop environments. Yeah, basically every desktop environment in existence. I mean, it sounds interesting, but I would really like to see some benchmarks, and they should be basically doing some benchmarks. Maybe they do have some on the blog. But yeah, I mean, interesting, but I would say as long as this will fragment the Linux community and Linux gaming community, Linux will basically sadly never ever become a mainstay desktop experience. Jesus, that's a lot of files. Whenever I was doing my secure Archlinux tutorial, we did basically have a single file in the EFI that the system was starting from. By the way, EFI boot, that's very interesting. What is the system actually starting from? EFI grab x64 EFI. So boot EFI. Where the hell? Oh, I think I know what's happening. It's basically not mounted probably. No. Okay. It's mounted not where I wanted it to be mounted. Interesting. So this is where the EFI stub is. So ideally, I would like my systemd UKIFI, for now, systemd UKIFI, to basically build another EFI unified kernel image here. So pacman as systemd UKIFI. And now the question is whether it auto-hooked by itself everywhere. Pacman as Linux. Let's try to reinstall the kernel. And we will see whether systemd UKIFI will do everything just by itself. Remember to drink water. It's getting quite warm. Ideally, I would like for everything in Linux community and Linux world to be as standard as it is in Windows. Because then and only then Linux could become a proper desktop for the whole world. Oh yeah, also, we need to check one more thing. Because oh yeah, we've had this error previously, but I don't think it's a critical error, so we can also try to debug that. What I wanted to check is whether I can properly capture audio via HDMI capture. So so no, I will not be signing in, but let's have some, I don't know, lo-fi, hi-fi. Sadly, I think in that scenario, I will not be able to hear anything and you will be hearing everything. Medieval lo-fi radio, okay. Yes, please. Weird. Okay, I am hearing. Oh yeah, also yes. King's Record have a 24/7 live stream. We don't hear that. Yeah, because I haven't added the filter in the OBS, but also the lo-fi was so quiet. Maybe King Record it was, not King's. Yes. Okay, and now I just have to probably fiddle around a bit. System settings probably. Sound. Oh yeah, and I think you probably can hear it, but now I can't. And I don't think I can make it that everybody, like both you and me, hear it, which would be interesting when we get to the point where when I try to play something. I mean, I've already did play some games, so we know that everything works. Right now it's just a Linux, more of a Linux improvement rather than making sure that games work. Okay, I will spare you for now of the anime opening music. But at least, okay, so at least we know that it works. And that's good enough for now. No, okay. If the need arises. Yeah, so Yukify has not generated anything, and we'll probably need to learn how to configure it. So Archlinux systemd Yukify. Two primary options. Okay, but I would really like what is the recipe for making it auto magically work. I don't want to sign, I just want to install. It cannot. Yes, we know that. Minimal working example. If external microcode is used, to skip having to copy leftover. Use the output when specifying CMD line for further information to have Yukify update automatically. Just use Yukify with kernel install or mknz the preceding sections. Okay. So they are basically saying that everything for that was configured earlier in the article. But since I cannot be bothered to do much reading on stream, kernel install layout UKI. Kernel install is another alternative part of systemd and requires to build, make sure kernel install is properly set up to generate and set the kernel install layout to Yuki. Okay, now we are jumping around this article like crazy. What the hell? This flexible utility designed to streamline the installation and administration of Linux kernel images on a system. It features a plugin system allowing seamless integration with other utilities. These plugins define a range of actions, configurations required during the installation and management of Linux kernel images. Examples of such tasks include configuring bootloader entries, generating UKI, and facilitating kernel signing for secure boot compliance. It's amazing how many of those utilities exist and how many of those you don't actually need. Kernel install is a part of and package with systemd, the systemd Yukify optional dependency. So is this even installed already? Not found. Oh, so it's part of systemd core. Okay, so it should already be here. So is it enough if we will just do this? So vim etc kernel. Okay, so it's empty. Let's try and follow the ArchWiki now. Layout Yuki. After configuration for Yukify must be done in kernel in order to be used by kernel install example, but that's like additional that changes the splash. You can also copy the template. Oh, okay. Alternatively, for MKinit CPU to generate, so basically, it's so much redundancy. It's like s- software doing different softwares doing the same thing using each other to do the same thing. It's like MKinit CPU can perform unified kernel image system, UKFI can build unified kernel image, Drakat can build unified kernel image. It's like everything can do this. By the way, I do think I am a bit too bright. Uh, mm, no, I think it's a bit better. I don't control the lighting in my environment. Uh, though I don't think that this has changed anything. I mean, I would say if it's not necessary and we can basically do that, then sure. The less dependent stuff, the better. So Pacman are systemd UKFI. I guess it might be useful in some embedded systems. Uh, okay, systemd, systemctl, and maybe one more time. Just so you know, this is the first time I'm doing it and researching it, so I'm basically picking up things as we go. I do think that this might just not be enabled. It might be like sitting but in the system, but it's just not enabled. Mm-hmm. Building image from preset, using default configuration file. Yeah, but it hasn't done any I don't think it has done anything UKI related. So maybe the location of this file is wrong. Oh yeah, it also might just... I mean, I don't think I am seeing anything related to that, but it also might need EFI, EFI, and not necessarily grab, but Linux. Updates the system, the stub, microcode, and Linux kernel will automatically trigger, but you might review the order. CD, etc, pacman, the who. Yep, so they are not in etc, they are probably in USR or var somewhere. Placing the kernel in unencrypted file system boot in the EFI partition is mounted expo. You need to have something that's not encrypted to boot. Therefore, you can modify it. So only secure boot can save you. I mean, maybe it is generating, but I don't know where. By the way, what's my FS tab? That's interesting. To be honest, I don't remember how I've done it. Like, gen FS tab, there's no such thing after we install included. Okay. This is a bit weird. You can also copy USR lib kernel. USR lib kernel. I mean, this is so many complicated things for what Dracket can do in a single command line, to be honest. Like, literally. Dracket is so much simpler. I do think that this kernel install thingy is just not enabled or something. Where's it getting this path from? Interesting. Okay, so it's like kernel layout, so it seemingly tells me the layout. Plugin arguments, plugin environment. To list activate plugins when installing, upgrading, or removing kernels, you can use the inspect plugins, dep mode, mkinit, uki file loader, entry, uki copy. Available plugins are found under here. Similarly named files will override the default ones. For example, to disable. So just make a symlink. You can also write your own kernel install plugin play. I don't think, no, I don't think I will. Thank you. But it seems like there are completely no plugins enabled by default. So where they said it lives, usr lib kernel install the usr lib kernel. Plugin arguments, add, remove plugin environment plugin. Sorry, those are the plugins. But why are you not like actually building anything? To manually install kernel, use the following. Okay. To remove, to trigger automatically and install all active plugins automatically, you can install pacman who kernel install from our. I would like not to use our packages if possible. Similar functionality is already provided by mkinit CPU to avoid duplication. These will need to be manually masked. But there are no hooks in pacman. Okay, so I think I know what's the problem. There are no hooks. There's even no hooks directory here. So this is interesting in what's configuring what are the default settings for packages, how the hell does it work? So let's see that kernel hook. I mean, I am saying that I would like not to use our, because typically if you are concerned about security, you should just not blindly install everything from our. It's just less, I don't want to say maintained, but basically it doesn't have as strict rules when it comes to packaged software included. So in theory, somebody can easily just, you know, make some malicious changes or just put some malicious software into our. I mean, to be honest, it's after you are trying to install Arch by yourself and just have it configured, it's interesting how many things, how many hooks need to be configured manually. Like if you just install mkinit cpo, but though I don't think I've installed it as just mkinit cpo. I think it came as a dependency, but still, as you just saw, there are no hooks. Kill me, but what was the command for installing our packages? mkpkg. Or was it make? Hooray! Cannot find. Okay, so we need the fake root. Cannot find the book edit. Okay. Mm, install Gen 2. No, thank you. I would rather mine Bitcoin. I mean, base devil. Oh, okay. I'm used to base devil installing, I don't know, like gigabyte of additional stuff. Autoconf, automake, bison, flex, m4, pkg conf. Yeah, it's reasonable enough. Thanks. But yeah, we have installed the hook, so ideally, everything should work now. Basically, it is interesting how, by the way, I'm eating strawberries. I hope you excuse me for that. It's interesting how, by default, the setup is very similar to what I have in secure Archlinux. You basically have one single kernel. And if you upgrade the kernel, you no longer have like a fallback image, or maybe in this case you have fallback image, but basically you do not have by default like a history of most recent kernels. It's also interesting to see if this actually succeeds, how messy it will be in a system. Yeah, we still have the error about command failed to execute correctly that I will have to debug. But first, let's see. Oh yeah. Still nothing. Like, what the fuck? Hmm. Did what is it even doing? Lib all pm hooks. Hmm. So it is supposedly installed. I think this is that. Yeah, this is the meat of things where it actually builds the unified kernel image. Okay, let's do this the hard way. Find name. USR share. Yeah, so it is here. The question is, Why is it here? What's this directory? Okay. Maybe I need the systemctl reload daemon. I mean, I'll try restarting the whole system after this if this doesn't help. I mean, okay, there is kernel install right now. Was it before? Yeah, those error messages were highly yeah, and they will. I don't think I saw this previously, but maybe. Okay, by the way, blah, blah. So this. And we do have a message above that saying unified kernel image generation successful, but supposedly this failed. So interesting. Maybe that's the reason why there's. Creating unified kernel image. Kernel install UKI EFI. Note, no CMD lines were found. Oh. Oh, but that's not really an issue. Reusing current kernel image. Unified kernel generation successful. Maybe it's trying to copy things to paths that don't exist. Maybe it's as simple as that. Kernel install staging area. Kernel install staging area. This variable has high, I would say, probability of not being set. But you know what? Yeah, no shit. No shit, AI. Like, thank you for the obvious thing. Unrelated, I think. Do we maybe have some more information here? No, I don't think so. So is this like errors or warnings? Because console font, no font found in configuration. Okay, so maybe let's start fixing the warnings top from the top to the bottom. So it exists. I mean, to be honest, I can populate this from what I already have. And just see whether it will make it more happy. In the meantime, no FSCK helpers. Okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm fine, but let's see whether it treats warning as errors. Core util Linux. Yeah, so now it's not yelling about the console font, but still it says warning errors were encountered. So because already here it's saying that blah 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 error blah blah blah. So I would also assume that it is building the unified kernel image. It's just due to the error never ever copying to where it's supposed to be. I mean, I would like for this to work as automatically as possible because I am aware that in the EFI partition there should be, I don't know, like grab directory, Linux directory, boot directory, and they can be um, capitalized differently. But you know, if this is supposed to be a Archlinux for gaming, I would like to be you know, able to just tell people install this and works and let's focus on the games and benchmarking, right? The more time we spend on doing stupid stuff like this, the less attractive it is. You need to cast some spells before downloading game drivers. They already work, to be honest. What spells are you suggesting, by the way? Like, I do have my Tech Priest, but it's sadly covered. Um, like, it's sadly covered, so it cannot really chant any Omnissiah prayers for this to work. Though, thankfully, we do have our NVIDIA driver working. Okay. No FSCK helpers found, blah blah blah, warning errors. What does that mean? By the way, this is, oh shit, this is the thread from 2012. Yeah, by the way, we are using BTRFS, so I don't really know how to do this on Pacman. On apt, I know that it's like apt cache policy, or, you know, apt cache search. Pacman minus s BTRFS FSCK. BTR, but that's installed. Pacman as BTRFS procs. It's not installed. This might explain some things. Warning, update. You know, I am surprised this worked without BTRFS progs installed. Bro, just use Windows. Chill out. It's dual booted on this PC, so you might still see Windows. To be honest, I do have to say that the key thing to take away from this, if you just want to have a gaming PC where everything just works and you have decent performance, and you do not have to fuck around like I am right now, Windows is a good choice. I mean, you know, I am not a Linux fanboy. I've been working with Linux for at least 10 years at this point. And in many cases, just use Windows, bro, yeah. So I guess everything that was not working was due to the fact that that our system, despite running on BTRFS, did not have basic BTRFS utilities installed. I have no idea how it booted up to this point. But I think our conundrum has been just solved. So no new things here, but if we go to EFI, there it is. And okay, so now we need to verify one little thing, and I also wanted to check out the BTRFS snapshots. Yeah, so this is also what I wanted to see. So first, let's reboot and see whether we will be now whether we will now have an updated list of kernel images to choose from. Oh yeah, shit. I forgot that this is fucked up on today's stream, so Okay, I mean, I know the font is small. Sadly, I can't really do much about that. Okay, this is weird. As soon as I enter the advanced options, it just chooses the first option. But I, to be honest, did not notice more kernels to choose from. Oops, wrong password. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know why I have to do this. I didn't have to do that previously. Hmm. But we are still not booting from the EFI. We are still booting from the traditional Linux image. So we do have EFI installed and we do have unified kernel image generated. We are still just simply not using it. We can do a simple test, by the way, because this is something that I'm curious about. If we go to boot and we basically obliterate everything. And now if we, because now we supposedly have all the hooks for unified kernel image, etc., etc. If we now generate the kernel image, whether it will also generate all that trash in /boot. Because in theory, you need nothing more than the stuff. I mean, in theory, in practice also, you need nothing more than the stuff in the /EFI. Like, I would say that booting in the UEFI mode, especially on desktop and laptops, is it's not really preferred. It's the mandatory way to boot your system. Don't use legacy boot. Unless you really have to or you know what you're doing. Okay, so we still have trash here. Which I guess it's okay, because maybe it works in a way where it generates this stuff first and then it uses that to generate the kernel image unified. But now the question is, how do we tell the grab to switch to the EFI stuff? By the way, is it okay? 2019, 6 years old. Nope. Group ignores EFI. I mean, I am using like loud sounding search phrases. Maybe I need to regenerate grab. Though it's interesting that the Pacman hooks did not include the grab into everything. Grab install. Grab is ignoring settings. So maybe let's see. Vim etc default grab. Because I would love to just tell it to you to search for the images in the EFI instead of the /boot. Disable Linux UUID, path to wallpaper, beep, disable submenu, disable OS prober. Yeah, I am not using OS prober by default, but I think that if I were to use that, then preload both GPT and MBR so that they are not missed. Yeah, that's just for the partitions. Just so much shit. Yeah, but that's not necessarily our issue. Grab installed. Yep, forgot a parameter here. Okay, found Linux image, found init image, found fallback image. OS probe will be executed. System on them will not be added. So yeah, so like I said, it's basically not even searching in the EFI partition, and it is mounted. Yeah, it is mounted in this file system, obviously. Wait, what? By the way, ls only 64 megs? We'll see whether that's an issue. Basically, I don't think it's including the NVIDIA drivers. Maybe it's not necessarily required for that to be. I mean, when I previously was building unified kernel images and I installed NVIDIA driver, the kernel image ballooned in size significantly to like 450, 500 megs, just because the NVIDIA driver was included. But maybe it didn't have to be included for it to be loaded after the kernel boots. Okay, so first group added unified kernel image. Maybe here we'll have answers. If you have unified from following security, you can add, yes, I know, but it has a fucking unique file name. So I can't just say load Archlinux EFI. That's kind of the problem. This is so beautiful. I love just doing the EFI boot entries manually. But like I said, I would really not want to write hooks manually now. Like, as little as that as possible now. By the way, I also think I'll be, like, how long have I been with you guys? And gals, possibly almost an hour and a half. I think maybe half an hour more, and that will be it for today, because I do think I do need to step out. Though I would be happy for today to just have that unified kernel image working and booted from. Why not use system deboot? I've had no problems with it and the UKIs. So the thing is that my end goal here is I would like to fiddle around with BTRFS snapshots. And I have seen them supported in a headache-less way, mainly with grub, where basically you are configuring boot entries automatically for grub if you want to switch between snapshots. And I don't know whether it works with system deboot. Maybe. Yeah, so grub has grub btrfs, rfe int has which both automate. Yeah, so so yeah, so for now I would just like to try something that's supposedly proven, like grub is mainly used by most people. But for now, we need to make grub work with our uniquely named and generated unified kernel images. UEFI systems instantiation. Yes, I know this is a UEFI system. Like it's funny how many things you need to tweak and set to basically have something that Ubuntu or Debian or whatever other OS installer just gives you for free, and you never even spent a second thinking about that. Like also, if possible, I just want to avoid installing packages that overlap with each other, that duplicate the functionality. If one package can do everything, like generate kernel image and then join everything into unified kernel image, then just let it do it. Like I can't believe that this is so hidden and not just done by default. Like I can't believe that grub is just not scanning the EFI partition. I've never set up BTRFS snapshots with system deboot. In case stuff breaks, I just boot from USB. Same. Yeah, I have done that just as you are describing that, though without the USB boot, because you can basically tell. Because if you make a snapshot, then I don't really remember it that well, but basically, if you make a snapshot, then you have like a separate partition, or you can basically have something akin to separate partition with UUID. So we can pass that as a kernel parameter, and you can basically restart. So you don't even really need USB unless you screw everything up to the point where you need to boot from something. But yeah, but I do think that with Archlinux for gaming, convenience is where it's at. Like if you tell people that yes, you can play games on Linux, but you always need to have a USB rescue USB ready in case something goes tits up, or you always need to be extra sure or extra careful and stuff like that, then some people might try it and it might work well for them. Some people might be disencouraged by the very thought alone, And some people will be fine with that up until the very first thing that breaks. Finest globe, skibbity, yeah. Isn't that meme dead already? Isn't that like dead in the water? It's like Despacito. Grab EFI examples. You are so yeah, thank you. uh, so this might be just custom things for custom. Okay, so this is not the help we've been looking for. Oh, grab probe. Oh, hell yeah. My children. You might be someone that knows me IRL. That's a fair point. Linux isn't user friendly enough to for the average Joey. I mean, it is. It kinda is and kinda isn't, right? And the reason we are even toying with Arch is because it has the rolling release model and has fairly decent and recent kernel, which is crucial when if you have like top of the shelf current hardware like 5070 or 50 series card. I mean, it's so weird with drivers on Linux that if your card is like, I don't know, 5 years old, then it's pretty much dead in the water when it comes to drivers. It's maybe not even dead. You need to follow completely separate procedure when it comes to obtaining the drivers for that card. And I think that it's similar. It doesn't matter whether it's NVIDIA or Radeon. Mm. Okay, so maybe let's. What is grab probe? Man grab. Probe device information for a given path or device. Separate item device map, target, usage. This is making me, Michael says, this is making me feel quite like I got lucky. I used Arch install and have had a really smooth experience, quite possibly hardware based though. Yes, I mean, I am aware that if I were to use Arch install, everything would just work. The idea is if you just go with Arch install route, it's no different than installing any other OS, right? The goal of things we are doing here is at least try to understand uh, what does what when you install a system, especially Arch. Because people do try and finick with Arch, and I think that, just using Arch install, I mean, it's fine. And for some people it works, but that already has tons of tutorials on YouTube. And if possible, I would like to understand how that fucking thing actually works. Like, it's funny that making the secure Arch install, the tutorial for secure Arch, was way easier than trying to do it like I'm trying to do now. Okay, grab probe -d def NVMe 2 N1P1. But I'm not fat. That's fair. I need to set up a weekend of installing Arch without Arch install because there's so much I don't understand that I'm curious about. Yeah, like I said, trying to make a minimal installation is way easier than trying to do an installation that mimics the typical, I would say, Debian or Ubuntu or whatever experience. Using Arch install on your first Arch install of Arch makes maintenance way harder. Is it really? I mean, I would say that as long as you semi-regularly perform system upgrades like Pacman, CU, SYUU, you're fine. Like the rolling release model works in a way where if you do not allow your system to be too distant when it comes to upgrades, then you're fine. I think my laptop with Arch has like 4 or 5 years at this point with this, and I haven't reformatted it ever since. Like I got it working. It's fine as long as things work, but when sometimes breaks, you most likely won't know what to do. Yeah, I mean, ideally it shouldn't break. Like, but yeah, we know stuff can happen. Ideally, it's most likely the people's fault. Like most often, it's just the people's fault when they try to install some dumb stuff from our, or they just try to do something that's not necessary, or they don't understand what it does, and then they just borg their own system. Chain loading unified kernel image, UEFI shell, EFI binaries. To show these menu entries when is Pop OS good for gaming? Every OS that launches a game is good for gaming. Like that, this most often the distros, when it comes to gaming or performance, are completely irrelevant. It's still going better for me than when I was trying to go live on Debian SID. Uh, I mean, remember that Debian has a different release model. I'm not sure how it works with unstable, but you know, typically Debian does a package freeze, so it's not running release, and you can you basically can come across some issues with Debian, where some new shiny thing arrives, like Wayland did, I think 6 years ago, and Debian was in this weird point where unless you were on the SID or SID unstable, the not testing but unstable, then you basically had like kinda working and not working system, but Arch, due to the release, rolling release and early adoption, had everything working. I think Arch has gotten more stable over the years. It's been a while since I've daily driven it, maybe on Gen 2 or 4 so years. I think that ever since the systemd shenanigans have cleared and everybody pretty much adopted systemd, then um, and everything just works. What I mean by that is that the transition period between systemv and systemd was quite a rocky place to be. Mm. Okay, but this is getting me nowhere. Yeah, I think people most often have an issue with the EFI stub, the initial grab EFI stub not being visible or not being booted, but we have a completely different issue. No, hmm. By the way, I do want to try one little thing. Just because I have a faint recollection. Mm. Pretty sure system deboot is part of the system D package. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was bootctl. Okay, yeah. Mm. bootctl can check the EFI firmware and bootloader status list and manage available bootloaders and bootloader entries and install, update, or remove the system deboot bootloader. Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty nice summary. Systemd is not installed. Okay, that's fine. Blah blah blah. Load drop in drivers. It's basically saying, yeah, your grub is shit and you should feel ashamed. But it's interesting that it basically detects everything. But I would really like, multi-profile UKIs are supported feature. So that's interesting. Is it just saying that Grub does not support these things or outright, or maybe that they are just not configured? Can I send links here? Yes, you can. We will see whether you will get banned for them. By the way, do remember that there is a Discord if you want to join. That may be more efficient to send some stuff. By the way, I will not be clicking anything, just so you know. Yeah, where was that plugin directory? Those are not symlinks, are they? No, they are not. I think on most of mine on my main channel videos, the Discord is linked. The invite are they either in the YouTube video description or in the pinned comment. Uh, Okay, system deboot. I don't want system deboot, and I don't want to write... Because I did use system deboot once, and it just worked, and I know that. Mm. By the way, I think I can close all of that bullshit for now. Cool. I'll check it out later. I don't think I have Discord open at the moment anywhere. Managing EFI bootloaders for Linux using grub. You need to chain load to another EFI mode OS. You cannot mount the ESP at boot. Group includes file system drivers. Installing grub. Configuring grub. Hi, spoonful of things. By the way, just for the proof of concept, I think I will do... This file provides an easy way to add custom menu entries. Simply type the menu entries you want to add after this command. Be careful not to change exec tail line above. Okay, so not necessarily Windows, but Arch unified kernel image. Stumbled across this Streamlit as I have some questions about dual boot. Does dual boot in Linux and Windows let me access files I saved on the other disk from using Windows? If you mount the drives, then sure. Let me just maybe finish this one little thing. You can access Windows files from Linux, but not vice versa. Kinda. If you are using ext or other stuff like that, then it's difficult and tricky. No. And I don't think that this will be HD0 PC. Sorry, I don't have bot commands configured, but I think I can satiate your curiosity. I have 5070 Ti and oh my god, AMD Ryzen 9 7900X 12 core. Okay, so not Microsoft, but Linux, and that was, Jesus, that it did have like a... long name. So cd EFI, EFI, Linux. To be honest, I'm not sure. It might be HD0. So if we go and boot grub CFG, like why cannot this be just a simple switch on off? You can access files from Windows, but you need third-party app. Generally, in my experience, the Linux has no issues with reading. Yep. To be honest, it's funny enough how NTFS is kind of superior file system compared to at least ext4 or even XFS. Okay, I guess we can try to see if that works, by the way. I mean, nowadays you can do most of the malicious, I want to say malicious, exotic file system mounting on Windows done via Fuse. Sadly, I need to do this every reboot we are. Oh shit, the grub is dead. Error file grub normal mode not found, entering rescue mode grub rescue. Ladies and gentlemen, we have broken our Archlinux installation. What games do you plan on to play on Archlinux? Any game that's Proton ready? Kinda. I mean, I did successfully on my previous test runs played basically anything that's compatible on Steam, but I've also played like Cyberpunk. Kinda just works if you use proper tools. Shit. Listen, guys, I'll be right back. I need some bio break, and I think it will be unlimited ISO works after that. And I'm back. Inshallah, brothers and sisters. Uh, hmm. So I think the fastest way to rescue this will be to just use the Arch install ISO. So that's what we will do. We will rescue the system, and I think I will stop for now because I do need to go out soon. And quite possibly we'll resume that tomorrow. Or maybe later tonight. We will see how that goes. I do really have an well, to say unconfigured stream schedule, but mm. What do you think about Wayland and X11 library? I think Wayland is the future. Rescue means truth. Yeah. I mean, Wayland has really seen some love and support from not necessarily the community, but just from, you know, the enterprise world and the world that basically does the hardware and pretty much decides what works on what. Maybe you should try T2 Linux. I have seen it's perfect. What's T2 Linux? Ah, no, no. Never in a million years. I mean, Mac is so superior compared to any Linux ever because it's basically, not to mention that it's basically a Unix. Not this, I mean, of course, 2D SDE Linux. 2D SDE. T2 package manager and its distribution, ultra low, low code, system development, other. I mean, that smells like software dev. Easy to use, highly scalable from HPC data center, HPE. I think somebody wanted to say HPC, but they said HPE. I mean, I don't know why I would ever want to use that. Mm, I guess this is the part that broke everything. Grub mk config. Let's see whether this was at fault. Basically, you install basic system and compile from source. All source is tested for this distribution. What you get is highly efficient cross-compiled Linux. So, first of all, how big is the community for that? Because I do think that, you know, saying tested. Oh, yeah, it's completely broken. Interesting. Saying tested means like what? Also, what does it mean highly efficient? Those are just like empty phrases thrown around on those projects. Like they are most often running the same kernel code underneath. Like if the only reason, if the only change there is basically running with -o and different number, then like just because you compile something from source contrary to just grabbing the binaries does not make it more efficient. Community size means the world. Yeah, one of the big reasons I would stay away from NixOS. I mean, I think NixOS is interesting in itself because I would say that there is a difference in fracturing the community as it is basically done with multitude of Linux distros and having an actual new thing that is like an alternative or just another, like not really another but just a separate thing of itself, like NixOS. Like I do think that with the multitude of meme distros it fractures the community unnecessarily because they are basically one and the same, like they are just based on one of the big three, and then they are just making sure that you have some different package setup on your initial install. But NixOS, I think, seems to be interesting. I say it depends. 2T SDE idea have very small basic Linux and build only stuff which you need. You can do the very same thing with Arch. Like if you want to, you can, because you do not, like every system, I would say even Debian, you can install in a way where it has no additional stuff you don't want included. But also, just because it's included does not mean it occupies your memory or whatever. Big three, Debian, Fedora, and Arch, pretty much like Ubuntu based or Debian based, Red Hat based, and Arch based. That's pretty much it, yeah. But going back to very small basic Linux, like most of the time it doesn't matter. Like if you know, like even if you include as much stuff in the kernel as possible, it doesn't always mean that it's loading into memory. And even if those are not the times where you had like 8 megs of RAM and I don't know 100 megs of hard drive space. Like even when we were building the kernel image for the secure Archlinux system with Dracat, we basically said to include as many modules as possible for it to be compatible with everything that it might encounter, because you are not always aware of anything that might change that your hardware requires. Maybe I will do a stream to show how fun the 2DSD Linux is. I mean, sure, go for it. I mean, maybe I am not seeing something here. I'm not saying that I'm omnipotent. I just do have that, mentality of I really like to work on the standardized toolset, right? Even in the industry and enterprise world, like, power plants, manufacturing, stuff like that. Whenever you have I want to say drivers, but basically, the hardware things that you just pop on a rail and they are in charge of making sure the manufacturing process works, or in the steering or stuff like that. They are running Linux, like 2.6. It's most of, like, very rarely they are running newer than 2.6. They are like the embedded systems. I mean, I do know that not everything does it, but most often they are running very standardized version of Linux. Though recently I think there has been a larger and larger shift from Linux to Windows in those. Enterprise is whole own world. I mean, people still run just open source things, or maybe they are just running, open source with paid features. It's not necessarily that different. The problem is the scale. Like many things in Linux and in the computer world are just not interesting in the single computer or single server scale. By the way, maybe let me just mount this because I keep talking and talking. NVMe 1 and 1. See, by the way, the NVMe naming schema changed between reboots. Arch, Chroot, MNT. So like I was saying, many things are just not interesting on a single server, single computer scale. In networking, in Linux, in software, like many of the solutions I think that Linux is offering stem from the fact that you are managing a fleet of servers, like hundreds of servers. Many things that routing protocols solve come from the problems of how to manage hundreds or thousands of subnets or just, routers. They do not necessarily solve the problem of managing 3, 4, 5 routers or servers. They are only interesting on a larger scale. They do sometimes get, I want to say, backported, but basically pulled back and used on a smaller scale. And then people basically sometimes scratch their heads and say, why is it so complicated? Why is this such a big piece of software running on my small desktop PC? But that's pretty much because it's been proven and tested on a larger scale, and people just like to use the tools they already know. Mm. So, by the way, the grub also was saying that it doesn't like the normal mode or something like that. Normal mode not found. Exactly. Excuse me that I'm far away from the microphone. The answer below never works. This does work. Reinstall your OS. Oh, yeah. Yeah, fuck you. That's also a very bad answer. I love writing docs, especially configurations once and then refactor and reuse them. Yep, I mean, I would say writing proper documentation takes as much work as just, writing a software or developing a deployment, but it's also as important. Oh, yeah, I forgot to try this. Using group, you can explore drives, partition, blah, blah, blah. Found it, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I think I know what happened. Mm-hmm. So lsblk grab install. One and one P2. As a software dev, we are shit at writing docs. Yeah. I mean, there are so many solutions to basically try and incorporate auto documentation generation automatically while writing the code, right? I think Java is like the best at that. They really pioneered that shit long ago. I think I need to reinstall grub. Mm. mean, the stub is here, so I guess that's not really important. By the way, we will do one little cheat because I am kind of tired of this grub thing. This is, by the way, why I am not using grub in the secure Archlinux installation. I just need to have my cheat sheet open. Question, people, what do you think how we would able to migrate all those Win 10 users? Me, I thinking of organizing local small. Don't. Please don't. You're not helping anybody. First of all, Linux is not a desktop system. It never was designed to be a desktop system. Yeah, we always need to do better, lol. We have had issues with onboarding because we've been pushed to move too fast to write proper docs, so I've been grinding extra hours to get the docs online. Yeah, like onboarding new people basically means that you are validating how good your onboarding process and documentation procedures are. EFI boot manager. Create, yeah, okay, so EFI boot manager, create disk. Okay, lsblk and ls. Okay, now I have everything I need. EFI boot manager, create disk dev nvme 1 and 1 part 1 label arch unified kernel image loader EFI Linux. No, I shan't be copying that, so I will do something else. So once again, EFI boot manager, create disk NVMe 1 and 1 part 1 label arch UKI loader EFI Linux arch EFI Unicode. Yeah, but you know, KDE, which I have no reference relation, they started campaign, so I think it's well, to be honest, they don't want those unmaintained Windows 10 machines to become owned. I mean, the okay, by the way, Arch UKI, where do I even begin? KDE is like a desktop manager, so they can run any campaign they want, and I don't think this will change anything. And those unmaintained Windows 10 machine, like the terrible truth, they will not get owned because they are sitting quietly behind net at your home and they are not necessarily exposed to internet. So unless you click something on or you run some dangerous software, then you know you're fine. By the way, what has happened? Oh, so even our unified kernel image. Yeah, so it didn't manage to mount the root partition, so we are stuck in the init ramfs. Interesting. Device not found, skipping FSCK, new root, wrong FS type, bad option, bad super block. Yeah, so we are on a very stripped down version of everything. You are now dropped into emergency shell. I think it does not necessarily have a command line to boot from. I study computer engineering right now, and we have whole classes dedicated to proper documentation creation. Safe to say those aren't my favorite classes. You can like appreciation for those typically comes later in your career, uh, like with the software architecture classes or similar stuff to that. Okay, so I guess that at the moment the system is kind of fucked, but I do really want to try and fix it on stream. So I don't really want to do that off stream, but sadly, like I said previously, I really need to be going. So I guess we will continue that next time, like next time on our Archlinux adventures, where we basically break the system and repair it again. So I'll be leaving it at that. Power off. And mostly, yes, it is fixable. But two things. First of all, like I said, I need to go. Secondly, this is a really small font, and this is something that you are not able to see well right now. Just reinstall kernel and rooted environment and reinstall grub. I've done that. The problem is that the grub itself cannot find, like, I think it has completely messed around its partition identifiers, and the unified kernel image has, I think, no command line, no rootfs defined, no stuff like that, which is why it cannot basically mount anything. So yeah. Once again, thank you all for being here. It was lovely to chat. It was lovely to discover new things. And I hope I continue this next time. And I hope that next time will be soon. So, once again, thank you all and see you next time.